Hello, hello, hello. Let's see. Hello, everybody. Tiffany here. Welcome to my quilting life. Today's Sunday, so Sunday, where I'm not sewing this Sunday. I'm not sewing today. No sew today. Just going to organize and not sew because that's what I'm doing today. So let's see who is all here. How far can I scroll back up? That's it. Cynthia, Donna, I have a glare. Francis, Brenda, Tony, G and B, Delia, March. I'm going to say that's Janet. Paula, Pat Boo, Zandra, Linda, Lana, Kay, Teresa, Beverly, Laura, Pam, Maggie, Paula, Katie, Linda, Sherry, where am I at? Oh, there. Renee, Mary, Paula, Gloria, another Linda, Melena, and I had my surge. There it went. Sandy, Gail, Karen, Susie, Tessa. Hello, everybody. Welcome today. As you can see on my desk here, this is 2022's scraps, minus a couple things that I threw in here because sometimes I throw a couple things in here. But on the other side of the desk, which you guys are always sitting on, underneath it, at the where the kick plate is for feet to go, I keep all of my bins. So when I'm done making or filming a video or anything, I always shove everything off the desk. Or when I'm done cutting a quilt that's done off of the long arm or any of that, all that scraps gets onto the other side of the desk. So for the last year, this is my scrap piles. 3, 1, 2, and 3 overflowing little bins. So today I'm just going to organize them while I sit and chat with you guys, and you get to see what I do. A lot of them I cut up into scrap pre-cuts, and then bigger pieces. Sometimes I don't cut them into scrap pieces, like little pieces, and then bigger chunks end up in here too, like what I didn't want to put back on the bolt or what I didn't feel like putting away at the time. It all ends up in these bins. So today I shall clean the bins up while you guys hang out with me. Oh, and I have mail to open because I have had it for a couple days and nothing else came in. So
it's something you need today.
It's something I need today.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yes, it's something you talked about the other day. I don't know if you sent it to you. But.
It is a head. Oh, it's the around the ear microphone thingy.
I told you were talking about it the other day.
Oh, who is this from? Thanks for the hours of learning and projects. Hope this helps. Happy New Year. Happy mail. Much love to you and Scott from. She knows who she is.
Don't say who it is.
Wow. So it's a headset. I'm wondering if this hooks to. This won't hook to the current microphone setup that I'm on. I'm wondering what it will hook to. Let's pop it open and see if it'll hook to my other microphone. Oh, it's got a staple in it. There we go. It's marked saying the C2. I'm wondering if this will fit on my other one. Let's grab it and see. Other microphone. Let's see. Okay, that's not the microphone one. This is the microphone one. Will this fit on here? If not, I'll have to get another thingy. Okay, it fits in there, but does it work in there? I don't know. We're going to have to play the microphone game while we're on live stream. So you're going to have to bear with me, my friends. What are these? Oh, these are the boom covers. Let's put one on. Ah! Get in there. Come on. And I'm going to have to take out one mic to put in another real quick. So give me a few minutes to do that. And while I do that, thank you to you know who you are for this. I would have got one myself, you know. I just had so many things we're doing lately that I just didn't have it on my top priority of things to do. Oh my goodness, get in there. And it's skin colored too. Look at that. So it'll be hidden when it's on my face, like my pastor has. Is it bendable? Hello. Let's see. I'm wondering. First, I got to make sure it sits on my ear right. That sits good. And then this has to hook to my body. All right. I'm going to disconnect you from sound. You guys can just watch me do this. All right. Is there sound? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm making sure that you guys can hear me before I even come on the screen. So type yes that you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm wondering if I step completely away, how loud it would be, because it could pick up not this. Can they still hear me, Scott, while I'm not here?
They're still typing yes from the beginning. You have 300 people on. When they're typing yes, you got 200 yeses.
Okay. All right. Now that I've plugged that in, let's re-straighten you guys back out since you're staring at a screen. That's
yeah,
funny.
You have them staring at the screen of them typing their answers.
That wasn't supposed to happen. All right. Well, now I just need to run that down. I don't like the cords on the outside of my shirts because they get stuck on everything. So I actually put it under my clothes. And then this, it looks like, hooks to here so that I don't lose it. There we go. Look at that. Now I can talk this way. And you guys are at my face. And I don't have to worry about it rubbing against my shirt. Woohoo! That's awesome. Much better. Again, you know who you are. Thank you. This works great. All right. Well, there's that. A right-away switch over. I could see it at my face, but I can't tuck my hair behind my ear.
Well, Lily made your enchiladas this week.
Can't tuck my...
She says the teenagers went bonkers over it.
Oh, that's cool. Hold on. Need to be louder? Does it need to be louder? Someone said needs to be louder. I don't know how to make it louder.
Yeah, they're saying the sound is very low.
I have it all the way up on here. Make sure it's all the way up on here. I don't mean for it to be low. All right, is it louder now? I can't adjust volume any other way. Is it louder now?
They're saying yes.
Okay. All right. Well, look at that. Now I just have to get used to this thing hanging over my ear.
You asked for it.
Yeah.
It's what you wanted.
Now I just have to get used to it. Okay, on to my scraps. So there's like different kinds. There's all sorts of different cutoffs, scraps, all sorts of different stuff here of all different shapes. Like, seriously, I keep everything. So what I go ahead and do is like I sit and separate first into piles of strings, random shapes for my scrap bin, and then these triangles can be used for other things. So I just string, random shape. This is also a random shape. Some of them are just super random.
Okay, apparently it's only loud when you're next to the device.
That means
when you move over here, it's not loud.
Okay, that means it's only picking up the camera itself. It's not picking this one up. This is not working.
Then switch to the other thing for now, and we'll figure it out later.
All right, we'll have to figure this out later, guys. All right, hold on. I gotta swap.
Yeah, they're hearing me more than they're hearing you.
Yep, that's because you're on the side of the camera. All right, so this will work out later. Give me a minute to swap back out. Be the correct hookup for it. So I'll have to look into that, guys, and make sure what's what. So my enchilada recipe is on here on YouTube. It's visual recipe on YouTube. It's a video from what, 3 years ago?
Something like that,
or 4 years ago? Something like that. All right, I don't want to lose that thing. Okay.
Can I get a note? Just a note?
Yes.
I'll get it. You go sit down and do your thing.
All right. So the enchilada video is from like 3 years ago. All right. So I just go through and pull out the scraps, and then I either press them if they need to be pressed, or I start and cut them. I go ahead and start cutting them up. So like little scraps like this, these little pieces, I turn into 1-inch squares. So like this will go with the strings, but these aren't long enough for strings. So I kind of just make my way through making piles of little stuff versus... To join the Facebook group, click on the link that Scott's about to put in or did put in, and then answer the questions. There are 4 total questions. 3 questions, and then there's an agree or disagree to the rules of the group, which I'm hoping you agree, because if you disagree, you're not getting in. So you must answer the questions to get in. And I'm crooked again. I tipped all that stuff to be...
Debbie is in town and she wants to visit us, but she can't. She wants us to email her, and I put our email in there, and
yeah, you'll have to...
I told her just to message us through the group then.
Then message me on Facebook. Or Instagram, even. If you use Instagram, you can message me on Instagram. There are pieces like this that are folded in half. These are what I had used for binding, so I'm going to go ahead and stuff like this. I will press.
Can you move the basket?
Yep.
I can't see what you're doing.
In 2 seconds. I have to have the basket near me for all this organizing.
Well, move one of them. We have 2 of them.
Where am I at? Where is the mouse on that side of the screen? All right. I don't see it because I don't see the mouse over there or over here.
Look up there. Just finish doing what you're doing.
Making sure that this is caught up so I can see. There we go. All right. So then this is all I do. So I pull out strips like this. This was probably a 2.5 inch or 3-inch strip. Looks like 2.5. So that would be cut into 2.5 inch squares. This is also 2.5, 2.5. So that would be 2.5 inch squares. This is not 2.5. That is 2.25. So that's just going to go in the strings. But again,
How long will it take you to do all 3 baskets?
Sometimes if I'm motivated, I can get it done pretty quick. If I'm not motivated, like today, I came in here earlier and I tried starting and I was like, eh. You know, that non-motivated feeling, like you just look at it and go, no, that's not what I'm doing. That is exactly what I did this morning. So it could take me days, honestly. It could take me, you know, a few hours. This is big enough for 2.5-inch squares. This is big enough to turn into 2 strips or 2.5-inch squares. So you guys could see some of the projects that a lot of this has been from. So here's a cutoff probably from, yep, this is from piecing a back. You can see that there's a seam in it. I can get a 2.5 inches from this side, I know for a fact. This side will probably just get cut for my strings bin. So the first thing I do with all this is I separate it into piles. And like you could see, all this stuff, like here's from something I made Christmas related, probably from an Open Gates box.
What's that running speed thing you click on with the 3 dots? Tell them to do that.
You hit there's a little wrench thing. What is that called, Scott? Right here? This little thing?
This is the 3 dots.
It's not 3 dots.
Oh, that's a gear.
A gear. You hit the little gear at the top of the screen. So tap the video at the top of the screen. There's a little gear. That gear will pop up. Click that and then choose playback speed 2 times and it'll catch you back up. It'll sound really fast at first. And then
That's the 3 dots. If you're on the tablet, you hit
that is also for the blurriness. It's you click on that little gears and you put the quality of video to 720 or something. Yeah, you can change the quality or anything from that gear setting. So see, I have weird pieces like this from cutting around the edge of stuff. Normally, I rip it apart like this. So I just rip it off. So these can be cut into like 1.5-inch squares probably. And these can be cut into whatever I get from it. Sometimes I put it in my scrap bin. Most of the time they rip apart with a regular stitch length, if you had a regular stitch length for all of it. So this could probably be like 3 or so inch squares, 1, 2, 3.5-inch squares, which I have a bin for all these sizes. So I just make piles of all the different sizes. And then I start cutting everything down into whatever I can get from it. So again, these would be like 1.5. That's definitely not 1.5 right there. So that can go in this pile. Odd shape, but there's definitely a 2.5-inch square right there. You know, this is 1.5. That definitely looks, nope, that's not 1.5 either. And then I'll press everything, obviously. So again, I just rip it apart, ripping the stitching out and put it in a pile. I'm probably going to press all this before I do anything anyway. And I mix all my scraps. So something like this could be a block. So I can take this, because it's already pieced, and mix it with any more already pieced ones? Nope. But I can mix it with another piece and make a square out of it. And it can be towards a scrap quilt because it's already like pre-made. This can be cut down into a regular triangle, or you can cut it into a square, you know. And I do have a bin on the other side of the desk still. I didn't actually bring it on here. That has triangles like this in it because I've been working for a few years now on a little project that takes triangles.
Do you have bins you put them in? And how
Yes.
do you do yours? By size, color, or all together, same size, no matter what color?
I don't put anything by color at all whatsoever. The only thing that I have by color in my fabric room is the batiks that are on the bolts. Other than that, I don't do anything by color. I have, if you guys look here on YouTube, I have a video on my storage and organization. It's fairly recent, what, 6-8 months ago about, of storage and organization. I have 1-inch bin, 1.5-inch bin, 2, and I just started a 2-inch, but it's not in a big bin yet. Then 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, and too small is less than an inch. Then I toss it. It goes in the trash. But I do have a bin for 1-inch squares that I make. Then, like random oddball size stuff like this, I usually, most of the time, keep it random oddball shaped, and I'll move on by piecing, I'll press them all and I'll piece them together. So here's this one.
Do you sort all 3 baskets first?
Yes, I sort the baskets first. And then I'll hook this one to it like this. So say I hook those 2 together and then cut the square out of that and I have a little block. And those go towards my scrap quilts. So I just take all the random ones and I just sit and press. I usually do this at my big ironing board, but that big ironing board is in the room next door. So here, right here already is just a regular string. It is already nice. It's already a nice cut string that's 1 inches. I have a bin specifically for strings right here that is almost overflown, and my strings all go in here nicely because I like to make string quilts. So here's all my strings, and notice my strings are like straight cut because I straighten them all out before I put them in here. I don't just throw them all in here willy-nilly. I like them nice and straight and precise. No matter what the size is, I don't worry about a number on the ruler. I just cut.
If materials are different thicknesses, does it ruin the quilt when it's quilted?
No, it does not. If you're making a truly scrap quilt, it doesn't matter what you put in it. Your fabrics can be all different thicknesses, all different shapes, sizes, you name it. Just have fun with it. I should have been doing this pressing thing the whole time. But this is what I sit and do. I sit and press it all, pile it all, trim whatever I need to trim. Press this real quick, pull that out of there. That's a string. And see, some of these are already almost a 1 inch square. This probably is almost exactly a 1 inch square right there. I already pressed that. I didn't press this one. But yeah, I will make scrap quilts out of all of my scraps. And I have fun with it. And I turn regular, nice, neat scraps into my neat scrap bins. And then I have binding pieces. I open those up every time.
Anything under 1 inch is trash?
Yep, anything under 1 inch I always put in the trash. I don't keep anything under 1 inch. Like here's a piece right here. I just ironed it to make it flat. But this, I'm not going to get a 1 inch square or anything out of. This is very, very small. You can't even see it barely on the camera. It's a very small piece. It has stitching already right here on the side. I'm not going to get a full triangle out of that either. So that is trash. So I don't even bother with it. And I just make piles and piles until it's all done. Press these. So I'll start trimming all this stuff up into something right now so that you guys can see. That way I'm not overwhelming my little space here. Yeah, you can use under 1 inch for stuffing for dog beds, but check with your local dog shelters because ours does not take them anymore.
That's why we don't keep them.
So I don't keep them anymore because the shelter here does not take the fabric stuffed beds anymore. They'll take brand new ones from a store, but they won't take homemade ones either. They just want what they want. So I don't keep them anymore. I toss them. And there's no point in me sending them out to anybody out there in the world unless they're local because the bags end up more than like 25, 30 pounds. So it's no sense in that. All right, so I'm going to start with the what's in front of me. So right off the bat, I have these little pieces right here. And I'm going to see how big it becomes. This looks like I can get a 1.5 inch square out of it. So I literally sit. This is what I usually do when I'm bored and I don't want to sew, which is today. I'm not bored, I just don't want to sew. I'm not in the mood. So here is a 1.5 inch square. That goes in that pile. This is probably going to be 1.5. Yep, that's 1.5. So I subcut it into 1.5 inch squares, and then it'll go in my 1.5 inch square bin.
Debbie says when she clicked on the link, it asks for her phone number and password.
For what, Facebook?
I guess.
That's because you have to sign into Facebook to use Facebook.
Oh, so she's not signed into her Facebook?
Yeah, she's not signed into her
Okay.
Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably best if you just email me if you're having problems. Yeah. All right. So 1.5 inch right here. And I can't get any more from that. So again, that little piece is garbage. And then I'll go all over again from right here. So I'll cut 1.5 inch because I know that this is 1.5 inches. And I got 2 out of that. So that'll go in my 1.5 inch pile. And that's my garbage. These I'll get 1 inch from. And that's probably a better direction this way. So I'll turn it and cut 1 inch squares. And I got 2 out of this. So it'll go in my 1 inch square bin. And my goal for my 1 inch squares is to make a triple Irish chain miniature. That's my goal for the 1 inch square bin. All right, this is 1 inch, so I just need to subcut it. And that, I'm not going to get a third one. This one is also 1 inch, yep. I'm going to straighten up that side first, though, because I like my cuts to at least be mostly accurate. And then I just go and cut. And I don't wear my wrist out from cutting. I actually wear my hand from the ruler side, not my wrist side, since I use this Martelli cutter. All right, this will probably be a big enough for, ooh, look at that, 2 1.5 inch squares coming from this guy right here. I'm gonna straighten this side up. And my 1.5 inch bin, those are just for whatever I need a 1.5 inch square for, which happens quite often that I need a 1.5 inch square. So whether it has a little bit on it or not, you can mix whatever because it's a scrap and it doesn't matter. This one I'm going to get a 1 inch strip from. So I just cut until I can't cut no more. Whether I have a little bit of a picture in it or not, it's going in a 1 inch bin, so it really doesn't matter because all you're going to see of the fabric is a 1/2 an inch. So that goes in the 1 inch bin. This one was already 1 inch, it just needed to be 1 inch the other direction. Then I have stuff like this. So I measure how big it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 inches. So I'm going to go 5 by 2.5, and I'll get 2 2.5s from this piece. And it's going to be the same with this one. And I try to do this throughout the year also by going through my bins throughout the year. So here's 2 2.5 inch squares so far. And then here's going to be 2 more. I try to do this throughout the year to keep the piles from getting this big, but do I keep up with it? No. Does any of us keep up with it? No. And that's why a lot of people send me their scraps, because they don't want to keep up with it. All right, let's see what's left. Not 1.5, so we're going to go with 1 inch. I'm going to turn these into little 1 inch squares. And since it was 5 inches, I'll get 5 per piece. And I use the small ruler for all this small stuff, and then I'll switch to a big ruler for any bigger stuff. And yes, I am crazy enough to piece all these little 1 inch squares together when I finally do, because that's one thing I love to do is tiny piecing. And I'm pretty good at it. All right, so there's more 1 inch squares. So look at my pile is already down a little bit. Here's the string that I said I could put in my string bin. So what I do is I can already tell on that side I'm not going to get 2.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead.
This would be a great project for me if you'd let me help.
That didn't rip, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off, yes, both sides. I'm going to go ahead and fold this. And this is what I do for my string bin. I go ahead and I cut the sides. I don't care. I just care that my fold is equal I don't look for a number when I do this. I just want a straight edge, so I come as far as I can onto that fabric. I always check the fold because you don't want an elbow in your strings.
How long does
And
a string have to be put in the string box?
more than 10 inches. I prefer more than 10 inches. I do have the cutoffs from strings, you know, for making string quilts. I'd have like 4 or whatever inches left. I actually have a bin with all those cutoffs in it. So this is a string bin now. And this one is enough to get 2.5-inch squares from. So I'll press it nicely in half. Like that. And then I'll fold it on top of itself one more time. And I will cut 2, ooh, look at that, 2.5-inch strip out of here. Let's move that guy out of the way before I start making cuts. That's that side. Make sure it got every single one, and it did. No, it did not. Let's do that again. All right. There. And then line this side up and get the 2.5-inch. Did it get all 4? No, it didn't. It stopped right here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off right there. That's going to be something else. Oh, looks like right there is going to be messed up too. Where did it go? Right there.
You already answered the strip for the string bin, right? 10 inches?
Yeah.
Tell them again.
I don't cut, anything less than 10 inches does not go in my string bin. It's usually really long pieces. All right, so I'm cutting some 2.5-inch squares. I got 4 so far, but this piece was a little on the wonky side. I'm going to go ahead and, where did it get funky? It got funky right here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a couple more 2.5-inch squares. And one more.
Is the small quilt behind you, the brown one, 1-inch squares?
Yep, that was 1-inch squares. Where did I put it? Right here. 2.5-inch. So I stick all my piles. All right, so this can be taken down to 1.5-inch. And 1.5. Click. It's not a link to click on for the email. It's just, you have to copy and paste it. Copy and paste the email that says Streamlabs. The Streamlabs says email me directly at. Use that email or in the description of my video. Emails is not a link. You can't make email a link on YouTube. All right.
That's what you can't figure it out. We'll tell her how to copy and paste it.
Yeah, copy and paste it. If you're on a computer, you should be able to copy and paste. If you're on a phone or a tablet, you might not be able to. Just write it down. Write down what you see and then take it to your email and do it that way. All right, so I'm making 1-inch squares. This is not quite 1 inch, so that again is garbage. So far, plenty of garbage. Let's chop this one down. Is there 2.5 here? No, there is not. Let's take that to 1.5. That's going to be garbage. That's a straight edge there. 1, 2, and will I get a third? Oh, I will get a third. So there's 3 more 1.5-inch squares. And that is garbage. All right. Where were we? String bin pieces for the string bin. So this kind of looks wonky to me. So what I'll do is straighten it out because I don't like to put not straight pieces in my bin. So I'm not really even looking for a number, but I am looking for a straight line. So I will line it up. So like this one just got lined up on 1 1/8. So that's going to go in the string pile. This one seems pretty straight to me.
What's the size of
Yep.
your cutting mat?
My cutting mat is 24 by 36. This looks like a full 1-inch strip. So that looks good. This is definitely a 1-inch strip. I get rid of the salvage off the end. And this is not quite long enough, so we're going to turn this into 1.5-inch squares. And I could always use solid 1.5-inch squares. Usually I don't use the big ruler for this, but
Tell Debbie that she can't click on it.
Debbie, you can't click on the link, the email. It's not, that's Scott's bad. He thought you can click on those. They're not clickable.
She has to copy and paste it.
You have to copy and paste it or write it down and then go to your email and type it in manually. All right, now for these guys, let's see what I can get from these strips. So I'm just going to iron them out because I didn't do that to start with. Usually I go through and iron everything before I even cut. Find out the closest number that it is. That's definitely not 1.5. So these are going to be 1-inch strips probably. Nope, not 1.5. Definitely not. Definitely not. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut 1-inch strips and then subcut them into 1-inch squares. I always look for that closest to number that goes to any of my bins, the size of what I keep. And then I cut them. It's actually quite calming to sit and do this. Just to sit and cut and organize and get it all cleaned up. It may take a while, like a long while. I don't think I can do this whole thing in one day unless I'm not being as particular with my scraps, which there are times I'm not that particular with them, or I cut them later and I just organize them for now. But most of the time I cut as I'm going, as I'm organizing, so that way it can get put away. This is, what I do is a severe OCD problem, having to have it just right. There are other people out there that do not go as far as I do when it comes to all this. But me, I don't know, I like my bins. I like the scraps cut up. I like doing it all at, the same time when I'm doing this.
What is a string quilt?
A string quilt is a quilt filled with strings. I'd show you one, but I am totally not in that room.
What would you use 1-inch squares for?
What would I use? What?
1-inch squares for?
1-inch squares for the quilt behind me. That quilt you see on the wall, that's 1-inch squares. That is why I keep my 1-inch squares. So my goal for the new batch of 1-inch squares is to make a triple Irish chain mini. Triple Irish chain, a miniature quilt. I do not have that many 1-inch squares though when it comes to the colors yet, so that's why cutting right now is going to add some more to it, because I definitely want a lot of scrappiness to my Irish chain when I finally do make it. All right, all those are cut up.
Okay, when you use tiny pieces for a quilt, do all the seams cause any problems when you quilt it on the long arm?
I don't do tiny quilts on the long arm. I don't ever take the tiny quilts onto the long arm. Actually, I quilt those sit down on the machine because they have so many pieces. Okay, let's cut these guys. Let's see, these are probably 1.5. Yep, they're 1.5. So I'm just going to stack them up and turn them into 1.5-inch squares. Right there. Yeah, I definitely, 1.5-inch squares maybe I'd take to the long arm if the quilt was filled with 1.5-inch squares, which would be a postage stamp quilt. But 1-inch squares, they turn into a 1/2 inch, and the whole entire quilt is pretty much all seams because the seams touch. On each side of here, the seams touch. So it's like double layered fabric the whole way through, plus batting and plus backing fabric. So that's a lot of fabric to go through. I mean, my long arm can do it, but what could I really quilt on the long arm on tiny, tiny squares that I couldn't do sit down? So that's the only reason why I just sit down and quilt those kind of quilts. Okay.
Any ideas on telling people how to decide what sizes to cut their scraps into?
Whatever size you use the most. If you use 5-inch squares all the time, every quilt you make comes up. You're always grabbing for a charm pack, cut charm pack amounts. If you're always cutting from layer cakes, you're always making layer cake quilts, cut layer cake squares, 10-inch squares. If your scraps aren't big enough for 10-inch squares, then do the next size down, which is 5-inch, and the next size down from that would be 4.5. So, I mean, all those are the options for you to come up with on your own. Oh, that's 2 1/4 because this was binding. So this is just going to go in my strings bin, and I already pressed that, so that could just go right there. This just needs to be straightened. That's about, yeah, that's good enough. Almost 10 inches. Just going to straighten that up to a 1-inch strip and put it in my string bin.
How long will it take you to finish all those bins? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea how long this is going to take me.
That question's been asked.
Yeah, I have no idea how long this is going to take me. As you can see, I'm almost through the first part of at least 2 quilts worth of cut-offs. So I'm going to press all these pieces, find out what number they are, and cut them accordingly. So this is most likely 2.5. I can just see by looking at it. 1, 2.5. Yep. All right, so I'm just going to cut this end off right here and cut 2.5-inch squares. Oh, that didn't get the salvage all the way. There we go. Now it did. So I get as many 2.5-inch squares as I possibly can. Oh, that's the only bin that my solids are separate from, my 2.5-inch pre-cut squares and my 5-inch pre-cut squares. Everything else, I mix them all in, the colors versus the solids. But my 2.5-inch squares, I actually separated all the solids. They have their own bin. And then my 5-inch squares, the solids also have their own bin. 2.5. Yep. Those are the only ones I separated. I totally forgot about that. I don't really cut much 5-inch solids, though.
Scrap quilt or whatever they were talking about over there?
A string quilt?
String quilt.
I do in the other room, yes.
Is it in the for sale one?
Yes, it's in my for sale quilts. It's going to be used as a show quilt first.
Okay, but I can bring it in.
Oh, it's the green backing one. It's right there on the outside of the cabinet. The one with the turquoise. The turquoise backing. Yeah, that's the only one that's strings that I can think of off the top of my head. All right, let's see what size this is. Yep, the big giant one. Huh? Yep.
Oh, yeah, this isn't for sale yet.
Nope, that's going to quilt show first. All right, here's a sample of a string quilt. There is a video in time lapse of me making this. This is a sample of a string quilt. So this is 5-inch squares with strings log cabined around it. So this is where my strings went. 5-inch square in the center, strings around it, and then it's on point. This is not the direction it goes, but this is on point. So it has 16.5-inch squares cut on the diagonal twice to become this. And then my corners were a 8.5 or 9.5 inch square. I don't remember exactly the number on that one. And then all the cutoffs from all these strings that I was cutting that whole time went around for a pieced string border as well. So this is an example of a string quilt. And this is a time-lapse video on my channel. If you go to my time-lapse playlist, this is in my time-lapse playlist. You can just throw it in there for now. And that one's back matches the top. But that's one of my show quilts. For now, it'll get sold after it goes to a show.
Once it wins a prize, it'll be worth more, huh?
No. That's not how it works, but
it was a joke.
Some people do. I know some people do that.
It was a joke.
They put their prize winning quilts on for more on Etsy. I've seen it.
It was a joke, honey. How do you find your inspiration?
I watch a lot of YouTube. That's how I find. I don't make the things that other people are making. I do my own thing, but I watch the YouTube for the chats with people and, you know, just talking quilty stuff. That's my inspiration.
Where do you sell your quilts?
I sell my quilts right now. What I have is listed on Etsy. If you want to buy one of my quilts, please email me instead with the one that you want from Etsy and let me know, because it's actually cheaper for you and me because of Etsy fees if you just buy from me directly. So Etsy is just my place to list my items so that you guys can see what I have.
We have more than it's on Etsy.
Yeah, I have more than once on Etsy though. I haven't listed in any a while.
Tell me do destashes every now and then.
Yeah, I do destash videos here and there. So I'm gonna cut 2.5 inch strip and a 1 inch strip. Ooh, look at that. No.
How are your rulers hung behind you there?
They are hung on a paper clip that is bent with a thumbtack holding it in. And that is not the best idea because I have drywall. My walls are drywall and they just fall right out. They constantly fall out with the weight of the rulers. So I do, starting tomorrow, we're going to be starting on, after tomorrow, we're going to be starting on the living room flooring. If you guys haven't been following my flooring problem with termites, starting tomorrow, we're going to purchase the flooring stuff. I don't know what day we'll get to it, but we're going to be moving the furniture this week. So out there will be a disaster. And then probably by that next week, hopefully, or the week after, we'll be doing this room. So this room is going to get emptied out. So for now, I could still do things in here, but I'm trying not to start any sewing projects, if that makes any sense. So I'm trying to keep myself from sewing. Because if I start something, I don't know when they're going to come and do the carpets and stuff. I don't know when that's going to be scheduled. And I don't want to be in the middle of teaching you guys something while this room is being torn apart. Because I'm also painting in here. So once the floors and everything is ripped up and everything's out of this room, I'm also painting it.
How do you decide what goes into submission for quilts in a quilt show?
I don't know. I don't have any particular thing. I just say, oh, that's a pretty quilt. I think it should go to a quilt show. Then there's ones that I tell Scott, I'm like, this didn't turn out that great. I don't like this one. Or I don't like the quilt. Or I don't like this. So that doesn't end up in the quilt show. That just gets sold. All right. This is a 3.5 inch strip. They're stored in a cupboard away from the cat so that they stay 100% pet free.
That's the ones for sale.
Yeah. The ones that I keep, I have on quilt ladders. That's how they're stored. So when someone comes to visit and they need a quilt to sleep under, they just pull one off the quilt ladder and they have a quilt to sleep with. All right, these are 3.5 inch squares because that's what was available on this fabric, was 3.5 inches. Ooh, that last one. What do I want this guy instead? Sometimes I cut my scraps where I could have a certain feature. I'm cutting the snowman out so that he is in the scrap. My 3.5 inch squares are actually in my bedroom because those are my hand piece blocks. So this snowman and this Santa Claus would look really cool in my hand pieced quilt that I've been taking forever to do. All right, this
I
guy's.
watched your video with 5 foot 9 inches patch cut up and loved it, but now I can't find it. Do you know what
I have no idea.
5'9", maybe that's wrong. Maybe they typed it in wrong.
Yeah, 9 patch. It's probably 9 patch cut.
5-inch 9 patch cut out.
Yeah, so it's probably a Sew Sunday video that I did 9 patches or something. All right, I'm cutting 1 inch and 1.5 inch from these pieces of scrap.
How many quilt shows do you enter here?
Lately, well, last year I only entered 2. I've kind of been behind on the quilt show entering thing. I need to make a list of all the ones that I could start sending out my quilts to enter. And then find all the local ones too for this next coming year. I'm like going to enter fairs and stuff too. Just haven't done it. Because, well, I've had a lot going on.
Maybe it's a disappearing 9 patch?
Could be disappearing 9 patch. Did I do that recently in the Sew Sunday video? Probably. I got to tell you guys something. I honestly, some stick out in my brain. I can remember the measurements I cut for something or whatever. I can remember certain things like that. But when it comes to my videos, because there is 875 videos on my YouTube channel, I honestly could not tell you what video, when, or anything a certain thing was in. Just know if you type Tiffany's Quilting Life and then Disappearing 9 Patch or Tiffany's Quilting Life Log Cabin or Tiffany's Quilting Life whatever in the search bar of YouTube, it should take you to something close of a video that I did with that item. Whether it's in the description of my video or if it's on the title of the video, it will pop up with something from Tiffany's Quilting Life. So just know you could find things that way, because I've looked, people email me a lot and I find them the videos. Obviously, I'm nice about doing it that way, but in reality, I don't remember when I filmed that video and I don't remember whatever. So once you find it, save it to your favorites and then you won't lose it again. I do that with all of the videos that I want to see again. I save them to my favorites. And your favorites list is private, so you don't have to worry about that. Some things are private and some things are not on YouTube. Like all my subscriptions are not private on YouTube. They are visible for all you guys to see all the other channels that I watch and the people I follow. Things like that. All right. I'm going to skip past these guys and these guys because these, I'm pretty sure, except for these right here, the rest of these are all oddball shapes. And these I can sew together to create different blocks with. So I'm just going to stack them up and keep them in their own little separate pile. Some triangles in here. Some side. Oh, there's a rectangle. Those can come out. Rectangle can come out. All right, so all these I'm going to keep separate over there. The rest of this is probably 1.5. Is it? Yes, it is. So I'm going to go ahead and turn these into 1.5-inch squares. And then we're going to move on in the box. I mean the tubs. And I don't care if there's stitching right here. Sometimes there's stitching when I cut them down. I'm leaving that because guess what? It's going to get covered when I stitch over whatever to turn it into a block.
Do you save triangles?
I do save triangles, but only from 2.5-inch squares because it's not in here. It's in the other room. But I have a bin in here for the triangles, and I have in the other room is what I've been working on with them. I've been making hourglass blocks to make an all hourglass quilt with all of those pieces. It's one more. Oh, nope. Let's do a 1-inch. Will I get a 1-inch from this one? Yep, just one. That's fine. One inch.
Not trying to be rude, but I don't understand how someone can sell a queen size quilt for $275. Tell them because the fabric costs that
Oh, because the fabric costs that much. That's why I
much. Fabric
sell
is not cheap.
my quilts. I have spent on a king size quilt to make a queen size or king size quilt. I have spent $1,100 on fancy fabrics, fancy everything. So just know that the fabric and stuff costs a lot. So that is why I would sell it. And if you guys were to ever look on Etsy, the Amish people sell their quilts, and they have basic solid quilts, basic quilts that are solids, usually Lone Stars is a lot of them make Lone Star quilts. And guess what they sell for? $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, sometimes even $2,500 for a queen size quilt because it was made by the Amish. So just know that prices may vary, but fabric is expensive. At $11.99 a yard, and you need 15 yards for the front of your quilt, that's a lot of money. And you also need the same for the back of the quilt, plus you need the batting and then the hours that it takes to put it together. That's a lot of money. A lot goes into making quilts. Oh, that's 2.5. So as a beginner, you'll learn. Scott used to think, well, you could go buy a quilt at, Walmart for however much, and it looks like a quilt, but it's not. It's just a blanket that's made to look like a quilt. You can go buy one of those for like $45. Yeah, but that's not handmade. It was made in a factory, and there's no love that went into it. Put it that way. So he used to say, what's the point of making a quilt and selling it? But now he knows, he understands. Is that 2.5? Oh, look, it's more than 2.5. Let's trim it down. Let's cut that bottom side.
So Wanda, we need more info. If she has a bag of fabric, does she feel it can be used?
If you have a bag of fabric, do you feel it can be used? What do you want to do with it?
Yeah, I need more info.
Scotty needs more info to help answer questions.
She says, I have a bag of fabric that I don't know how long I've had. Do you feel it can be used?
Yeah, you should. If you don't know how long it's been in there, use it. Get it used. I have vintage fabrics that are still 100% just as strong as the not vintage fabrics.
She doesn't know how old it is.
Yeah, I've used old fabric with new fabric in lots of scrap quilts, and guess what? I have not had any problems.
Well, she's used fabric. You've used fabric older than we are.
Yeah, I've used fabric that's older than me, and it even said on the selvage that was on the fabric. I did a Hawaiian quilt. How many years ago was that? That was like 6 years ago. I made it. Yeah, it was dated in the 1960s, like 1968 was on the selvage print, and it was very funky written. Like you can tell that the way they used to make the selvages on fabric, but it was dated in the 60s. So I made a quilt with it. It was all Hawaiian fabrics. So why not? I made a quilt. All right, we have large scraps like this now. Now, what do I do with stuff like this? Here is one that's very weird shaped. But that's because I cut out the corner of the quilt, or I cut a V into it because it was an on-point quilt. So in this case, I cut what I can out of it. There's also a seam down the middle. And this looks to be a pretty big square right here. So I'll be able to get 2 10-inch squares from this section, and then 2 big half triangles from this section that I can piece together with another scrap, because in all of my scraps, I always have pieces like this. I could just piece those together and make a rectangle block out of that and put it in a scrap quilt, which I just made the other scrap quilt that's oh my goodness. I haven't quilted it yet. It's just all scraps. Or did I quilt it? I don't remember if I quilted it yet. But I have scraps like this. Right now, I'm not going to work with these big ones. I'm just going to work with all the little guys. I seem to be on a roll with the little scraps. I have lots of this. I made plenty of quilts that used this fabric.
They're having fun asking questions. Tell them to keep on asking.
Yep, keep on asking your questions. All right, that could be strips. That could be strips, and that could be strips. Here's a big chunk that can go there. Little guy, little guy.
One person says you can sometimes tell if it's old fabric because years ago 100% cotton only came 36 inches wide.
Yeah. All right, this is all that can be put into strips. Strips. Big triangle, like I said, I can match these with other big triangles from other things. So for now, I'm just gonna keep that out of the mix. Again, here's another one, funky, big, huge triangle. These can be used towards a quilt. All right, here's some leftover binding that needs to be pressed. I mean, I even kept the wrappers to things in here. I don't need that. Here is enough to be 5-inch strips, it looks like, or 5-inch squares. There's more of this stuff. That's a big piece. Look at some.
Regarding the big piece you had there, why not just cut off the triangle ends and just keep the big piece in one piece?
Do you mean cut out a square here?
You had a bigger piece that had like weird triangles on it. She was talking about.
Oh, I can cut all that off later. I'm not going to do it right now, but yeah. I'm just taking all the bigger chunks right now and separating the littler chunks and the blocks. Like here's squares that are half square triangles that weren't used in something, which was a most recent project. Here's tone on tone fabric. So here was the folds of the tone on tone. Most of the folds I can get 2.5-inch squares from, and then this was a 5-inch cut so that I can make half square triangles. Obviously, I'm going to get 2.5-inch squares per every single one of these folds. These will have Santa on them. I mean, not Santa, Frosty the Snowman. But look at how many of these. These are just the folds, and I don't throw that away at the fold of the fabric. I'll press it and then cut it down. Here's some more. It's probably almost 5-inch square worth. Here is one that is selvage to selvage. So these I totally separate. So this is a piece that is the selvage to selvage of fabric. So this is the full length of the fabric. What I will do with this is I will straighten it out, and I separate these because I cut 2.5-inch strips for my 2.5-inch strip bin. I cut for those. That's what I cut out of those. So here's these little triangles I was telling you guys about. There's a whole stack of them right here. Let me separate these out. So I have a ton of these half triangles. They were cut-offs from making something. So here's the half triangles. There's lots of them here. They're not sewn to anything, but I have a bin going in front of the camera. Where'd it go? Bin, where's my bin? Where'd it go?
What? I don't know what you're looking for.
Ah, it's on this side of the desk now. Here is my half triangle bin. So all this is cut-offs. They're just half triangles that I've been sewing together little by little. I put them in the box and then I sew them together. So these 2 half triangles are going to go in here. Then I have more here that I haven't finished going through. So these ones I have because these ones came off of a 2.5-inch piece, and I've been piecing those together little by little when I have time. So for now, this just sits under here to put them in. But that's where those go. Hold on, let me move this out of the way so that I can press this guy real quick. Turn him. Oops. Let's put all these half triangles in the bin. Okay, those are all put away just like that. Here is this piece that is the full length of the fabric. I press it. I fold it on top of itself, and I straighten it out with the selvage on that end. And I press it again. I always press it twice in half. And then I come over here with it, and I find a rotary cutter, and I cut a 2.5-inch strip first, because I know that that's what I'll get from here. flip it, and I'll show you guys my 2.5-inch tub. I keep the strips because you never know when you need a jelly roll strip. So I got one 2.5-inch strip from that. The other one is going to be a random width of fabric strip because I have a bin for random widths of fabric. So this is 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eighths. 2, 3, 4, 5 eighths. Nope, that's not going to work. Let's just do 1.5. Yeah, 1.5. I have a 1.5-inch bin as well. This is a Quilter's cut and press. Walmart sells these. All right, I'm going to try to sneak this out here. If the camera moves, I'm sorry.
I could have got that for you, honey.
All right, guys. This
Why didn't you just let me get that?
is my personal jelly roll tub. So this fabric that I just cut into a 2.5-inch strip, it's selvage to selvage, so it's a full width of a jelly roll strip, is in here. Do you guys see all that? It literally is a lot of fabric right here. So anytime I want to pull a jelly roll strip because I don't like it out of a jelly roll, I can come to this bin right here and pull something out. Anytime I need to make binding, but I only need, say, 5 strips of the same fabric, or 4, here I have 4, 5. I have 5 of this print right here. So there's a binding right there for a small quilt. You know, I just have all of it here. So here's a bunch of stripes. There's 4, jelly roll strips here. Bam, there's the binding to a baby quilt. That's a stripe, This is the bin. That's a lot, right? Yep. So this is why I cut my scraps up. So anytime I want to make a scrappy quilt with a jelly roll pattern, like a pattern, this is the bin I go to. I create my own jelly roll of scrappiness, and then I make a pattern. And then I show you guys how to make it. That is what I get it from. And then I have a 1.5-inch strip bin, which I was just going to put this there so I don't have to go behind the camera again to get it. But I have a bin that has 1.5-inch strips. So if I want to make a honey bun type quilt that uses honey buns, if there's a pattern that makes honey bun stuff, then I have that as well. Leftover blocks have their own drawer that I cannot get to right now because they're buried behind a pile of batting at the closet. So those just are going to stay separated for now.
Shaka says you're too organized. I don't have room for all that.
That bin is one of those under the bed bins, so it fits perfectly under the stand. It's like a TV stand, I guess is what that is. Behind you guys. Yeah. It's an old school TV stand for a big, huge, old school, heavy TV. So this was binding right here. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this into 2.5-inch squares because that's probably how big it is.
Any way you can check in to see if you got the email from Debbie?
No, because I'm using that device. Actually, yeah, I can. I have the computer open.
Not before you got off. No,
Oh.
Not this second.
No.
Before we get offline, can you use the computer?
Yeah.
Check.
Yep.
You don't need to watch it.
No, but I can click on it from here because I have this screen right here. Let's see. We'll let that open while I make sure that these are 2.5-inch. And that was. Most of the binding that I cut is 2.5 inches. So if the binding was longer than this, the leftover piece, I'll save that to bind little things. So little scrap projects like the thing that's hanging on the wall, I'll save long, pieces that are this size as binding. But nowadays, I usually cut it up because I have a whole entire bin filled with what I call pre-made binding. Because it was from something else and I just never used it up. No, I did not get an email from her yet.
Okay. Well, tell her. Debbie.
Yep. Debbie, I did not get an email from you yet. All right. Wrong button. This button right there. Nope, that's not it. This button right there. Right there. Okay. I have my computer right here on the desk, but actually you guys are on the big screen behind me. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut 2.5-inch squares from all of this. And I'll get a nice stack. And when you guys go back on my videos to my 25 patch blocks series, you'll see I used lots of same color 2.5-inch squares for a lot of those blocks because I needed, say, 13 pieces of one color. So I would, use the same pieces. So it's a good, I cut in multitudes of the same piece. And then I just stack them in my bins, which are overflow. The 2.5-inch bins, there's 4 of them. 3 are colors, prints, and 1 is solids. And they are all 3 overflowing. So I'm probably going to move them like I did my 5-inch bin. I have a 5-inch bin and I had to.
They can see Sculliver's filling the binder up.
Oh yeah, Sculliver's. Sculliver's super thick. We can get 1.5 from this. Yep. Not 1 inch from that. That's garbage. But this one is 1 inch. That's garbage, 1.5, and 1. See, just like that. These right here, let's press. It's probably, this looks like a 6-inch, or maybe it is 5. I don't know. Looks pretty big.
Where can you get wheels for the long arm?
Online.
Like SewingMachinesPlus?
You can get them at SewingMachinesPlus. No, well, you can get casters at Home Depot and Lowe's, but you got to make sure that the screw fits your long arm. You got to make sure that the screw-in section is the size that your long arm is. All right, let's see if this is a 5-inch square worth right here.
When is Sculliver going to be done? Do we know?
Sculliver will be done in a few more weeks. It's probably going to be a total of like 25 weeks. Just know that. I don't know off the top of my head. It's like 25 weeks worth. All right, 5-inch square, just like that. This one's probably going to be the same. Yep, just need to cut a little sliver off the end, and this is a 5-inch square. So I got 2 5-inch squares that were just randomly in here of tone on tone. And then this is big enough to make 5-inch squares of that same tone on tone. I don't like tone on tone fabric for one reason. I don't know which side is the wrong side or the right side unless I really, really look at it and then I go, oh, the one side that's the right side of the fabric, that's the pretty side, what you would say with normal fabric, it kind of looks like plastic on tone. So the tone part that's on the tone, it looks like plastic. So that's how I know what side is what. But under like certain lighting, I can't tell. And I get them backwards all the time. 1, 2, so 2 more 5-inch squares. Look at that. And then this will be the same as all these. So I'm going to press all these because these are going to be 2.5-inch squares. And I like to press first before cutting. I think it makes it a lot easier and it makes it better for storage purposes. The flatter it is, the easier it is to store, especially with big scraps or fat quarters or anything that you're trying to put away. Pressing it first or making it flat is always a good thing. All right, so all this next stuff is going to be cut down into 2.5-inch squares. Since I know it's 5 inches, I'm going to get two 2.5-inch squares. These pieces. So there's 2.5-inch squares there. Come on, get off. I'm just going to start cutting all these up. That's enough for a 1-inch though. Just going to make it all nice and straight. So again, this could take anywhere from a day, depending on how many scraps you have, to a whole week, depending on how many scraps you have. I seem to have a week's worth of work here because I'm working kind of slow. But that's also because I'm trying to show you guys what I'm doing at the same time. That guy needs a little bit of off that side. And this ruler right here is a Missouri Star ruler, so it's already 2.5 inches by 8 inches. So it's a lot easier to cut 2.5-inch squares from it. And I just stack them. This is snowman tone-on-tone fabric, by the way, that I'm cutting up right now. It's adorable. But it's hard to see the snowmen on it. Because it's tone-on-tone. So you got to know which side is the right side. I'm stacking them all right side up, though. So that should help when I use them in the future for something else. And yes, I try to be as precise as possible when I do all this. I don't want to put away wonky pieces. A lot of work goes into my scraps. Like a whole heck of a lot of work goes into my scraps. But I use them, so that's a good thing. So if you don't use them, I would say don't bother with all this. Just do something with them. Donate them. Donate the bags of scraps to your local guild or something, because they will sure use them.
So when someone sends you scraps, do you like it if some of them are 2.5 or 5 inches, etc., so you don't have to cut so much?
If someone sends me scraps, it doesn't really matter. If it's pre-cut already, then that's fine. That makes it even better. But I don't think you need to go through all that work if you're going to send me scraps, honestly. I tend to, the scraps that people send me, I tend to put in whole into things instead of cutting them down. Like, I always find like the leftovers of a project. That's what some of this is in this one, because I threw them there. This is all the leftovers from a project. So I can get a little wall hanging from what's in this bag, most likely. It's just some half square triangles and some 4-patch looking, trying to make something with. If I match it with one other fabric, I could totally make a little wall hanging from this. So there's a couple, of things. Like some of this, it was just bigger chunks, and it was from one fabric line. You can tell on some of these, it was from one fabric line, and I tried to keep them together, and then I threw bigger chunks in there. I was using some of these to make the bigger scrap quilts that were pieced, big pieced scrap quilts. So, I mean, I'd use them whatever way they come to me. It's mainly my leftover scraps that I chop down like this, because I have, once a year I try to get all this done. And this is that time of year where I need to get these bins cleaned up so that I can use them to transport other things from this room out of this room when we do our floors. So it's nice to have this stuff all cleaned up, or else it's just going to get dumped into a big bag and I won't touch it. And I definitely want to have it all done because I don't want to have it sit around for another year. Like I said, I do this once a year. All those are cut up. And it just goes like that. So here's a nice big piece. This is 5 inches most likely. Yep. I'm going to cut this into 5-inch squares because there's no selvage on it. So just going to turn it into 5-inch squares. But first, I'm going to press it. Okay. And I can get 4 at a time if I fold it up and do it this way. So I got a bunch of 2.5-inch squares from this same fabric, and now I'm getting 5-inch squares from this same fabric. My 5-inch bin is buried as well. It has its own, you know, the 3-door drawer dressers that I used to have right here, that big, huge one? It's in one of those. I had plans for all my 5-inch squares. I just haven't done it yet. I should soon. I have plans for a lot of things. I just don't get to them as fast as I want, which is what we all do. So I'm not the only one. Okay. So there's a ton more 5-inch squares. All right, let's see what we can get from these guys. Are 1-inch most likely. This is 2.5 again, probably. Just guessing at this point. And these are probably 5. It's probably a 5 by 10-inch piece. Yep. I guessed it. So there's 2 5-inch squares just right here. They were just sitting in that pile. I could have done something else with them already if I would have cut them sooner. When I first started quilting, I actually used to sew my scraps right away. I stopped doing that. What happened? Did I cut off something? No, I didn't. They weren't fully 5-inch tall. Well, it looks like they're turning into 4.5-inch squares instead because I have a 4.5-inch bin.
Mary has a ton of half-square triangle cutoffs. She's on the verge of throwing them out. Do you want them?
Sure. Are they big ones or little ones? Because I have a lot of little ones. Like I said, there's a tub in the other room. If they're bigger ones, then sure, I'll take them. But if they're really small, then I don't really want them. Because like I said, I already got a lot. A lot. That's 1 inch, 1 inch. Okay, let's make it a better 1 inch. There we go. And anybody that sends me stuff, if I don't use it, it actually goes towards donation stuff that I donate every year, because obviously there are things that I haven't used that people have sent me. I can't use everything that everyone sends me. So, and most of the time, nobody out there has ever cared. I don't ask for anybody to send me anything either. It just shows up in the mail. So, but I use most of it. There are things that I couldn't use. I've gotten some weird fabrics that I didn't even know what they were. I did use the jacquard. Someone sent me the jacquard, and I did use that to make a couple bags. And I still have more of it, but it's very hard to work with type fabric. But I've gotten other fabrics that I have no idea what it is, so it makes it hard for me to use something that I don't know what it is. It's very pretty and all, but the things that I've gotten, but I've donated that because there's other people in the guild here locally that know what that kind of stuff is and they know how to use it. Or they make clothing or something, and I don't, so I pay it forward. All right, is this 2.5? And that is, so we're gonna cut some 2.5-inch squares. Okay, so I got 4 out of that. And 1.5, yeah, okay. 1, 1.5, and 1, 1. And I just do it until I have, you know, whatever. All right, what is this? That's not. Excuse me. Oh. All right, let's see what that is. 2.25. So I'm just going to cut these into 1-inch squares. And see, it goes pretty quick once you get the hang of doing something like this to be super OCD. I'm telling you, when I started doing this, I was like, I think I'm crazy. But then I realized I wasn't, because there's been a lot of times I've made oops cuts, lots of oops cuts, and I can just go to my bins and there's a fabric that almost looks exactly the same. Like it should have came with that fabric, you know, line. So there's been plenty of times that I've been able to fix problems just with what I have in my stash. All right, we're going to do 1.5-inch squares off of this. That's garbage. This, I think, was 1 inch. Yep. So I'm just going to do some 1-inch ones from here.
Here's one. Laura wanted to organize all of her UFO projects this year. Then she got a puppy. Then I got a puppy. Just let the puppy run through it all. Then it's organized. Yeah. Throw it on the floor and let the puppy do it.
Yep.
Do you organize your patterns?
No.
I know what?
I don't organize patterns. I mean, like in books and stuff, like Becca, my friend Becca. So Becca, she has her patterns and books and they're super perfectly organized. I don't do that. That's one thing I am not organized with. My patterns are thrown into a bin on a shelf, just there. They're just over there. All right, let's see. Here was probably the leftovers from cutting off of a quilt. I lined the selvage up together like this. Yep, this is from cutting another quilt. This is from a quilt back. So I just line the selvage up. This is a very long piece. So what I will do, line it up super awesomely. I will make my first cut one direction from away from the selvage, and I'll make sure that I'm getting all the layers that I just made. Just like that.
Because you don't use patterns.
I don't use patterns, yeah, so there's no point in organizing. I have, and I still will use the patterns that I have, but I don't intentionally go out and buy a pattern and use it. And now I'm just flip this, and now I'm cutting all that selvage off. So now I have myself a super long, perfectly cut string for my string bin. Just like that. Oh, here's more. How'd that fall out of there? And I didn't see it till just now. And I just end up filling, this tub has a trash bag in it, and this is what I cut off tub. Since I don't stuff dog beds, it's in a trash bag, tie it up, it goes in the trash. It's done. There's nothing, even the scrap batting, if the batting piece isn't a certain size, I don't want it. If it's not the size to make a bowl cozy, I don't save the batting. It goes bye-bye. All right, what are these pieces? Did I save them because they were 1 inch? Nope. Yep. So this wasn't even 1 inch, so I don't even know why I threw it in there. So some things, I don't know, maybe I just tossed all the scraps in there. Sometimes I don't see that, or I just wasn't paying attention, and the ones, I try to throw anything that's less than 1 inch away while I'm making something.
Okay, here's a question I was actually wondering. How do you know what will be strings and what will be small squares?
I just make it up as I go. I don't know what will be strings and what will be small squares. I just kind of wing it as I'm going. So if it's a really long piece, like the one that was, a second ago, that automatically says in my brain, string bin. Why? Because it was a really long piece. So
Show them a bowl cozy. You have one handy.
bowl cozy. Shoot, I don't think we have any in here. I don't have a bowl cozy in here to show. Nope. Not down there either. Nope, we don't have any bowl cozies in here. It's just a bowl cozy. It's literally that. And I save chunks of batting. Here, I'll show you another thing I save batting for. I save batting for my project bags. So here's one of my project bags. So it has all the leftover pieces from my magnolia quilt in here that I had intentions on making something with. So this has batting in it. I put batting in my bag. And then it has my clear plastic. So these little bags for my projects have batting in them. So I do save squares of batting for stuff like this too.
Marla says she has two of your bowl cozies.
Yeah.
Tell them it's a bowl
It's a bowl that is for,
fabric bowl.
it's a fabric bowl for hot dishes. Like it's kind of like this, but not.
Bigger.
It's bigger and it has bigger sides. If you don't know what it is and you're new to quilting, it's got bigger sides. It's for holding a bowl when it's hot. I don't have any in here though. Trying to think.
I think you gave them all away.
Yeah, I gave them all away. But again, I have project bags. So you guys can see I embroidered Imagine and Create on my project bag. Again, these have batting in them.
Do you have videos on your project bag?
No, actually I don't.
You don't have videos on that?
No, I didn't make a project bag video. That's something I haven't made yet. Yeah, I can make one because I have plenty of stuff to make it. Yeah, yeah. But I save certain chunks of batting for stuff like that. Yeah, I've never done oh, actually I made a project bag in a open gates tutorial that has no sound, no voice. It just has the music only. So it was an open gate pattern, but I can make my own pattern for you guys because they're super simple to create.
They're also in Teresa.
Yeah, Teresa Louise has project bag videos on her channel. So if you guys just type in explanation Teresa, it will take you to, you click on that link, it'll go to her channel.
And that one's a clickable one, right?
Yeah, you can click on that. All right, we're gonna cut 3-inch. How much is in my 3-inch bin? I don't want to use 3. Let's 4. That's not 4. That's 4. Started. I'm looking. No, we're gonna go with 2.5 inch on this. And then that's not an inch left over. Is it? Oh my goodness, it's exactly an inch left over. Look at that. This inch-long strip right here is going to go in my strings. I don't want to cut all that into 1-inch squares, but this is 2.5, so I'm going to go ahead and cut into 2.5-inch squares.
So Candy, yes, every week, so Sunday.
Every week at 5 p.m. is a So Sunday video. I am on rain or shine, sick or not. My room will be torn apart soon. I will be on while my room is torn apart. I will still be on. I come on all the time. 5 o'clock Arizona time or Mountain Standard Time, which was an hour and a half ago. Yeah. So if you're Eastern at 7 p.m., that's when I'm on until the time changes.
They can be in Timbuktu. It could be tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
They just take an hour and a half away.
Yep. This has been an every Sunday thing for the past 4 years?
Yes.
Actually celebrated 100 Sew Sunday videos. That was years ago. Maybe I should see what number of videos I am at on my Sew Sundays and celebrate the next biggest leap on that. Because I'm pretty sure it's getting close to, after 4 years, every Sunday. That's a lot of videos. And sometimes I continue on. Like if I don't finish it on that Sunday, I'll come back on a Monday and finish the project. So, all right, here is weird scraps. So here was cut off. Here's batting on this. I saved these. I don't know why. Oh yeah, because I could get 1-inch squares out of that. But I really don't want to pull them all apart. So what am I going to do with it? Guess what? It's going in the garbage. I don't really feel like cutting those up. I make string quilts with my strings. I take all the strings and I put them together. If you rewind back about half an hour, I showed a string quilt. Is this a 2.5 inch? It sure as the heck is. All right, let's press this and cut this. And then I'm really not getting that far. Oy.
Susan wants to let you know that they talked about you at her last guild meeting and she got 5 people to subscribe.
Oh, thank you for talking about me at the guild meeting.
Where do you find the clear piece for the plastic bags?
The clear, for the project bags, you would buy the bolts. You can buy clear vinyl, or you can go to like Walmart. They also sell clear vinyl in a bag. You can buy a little bag of it, or on Amazon, or any quilt shop online, which I have links, Fat Quarter Shop, and so on and so forth. They all sell clear vinyl. I'm pretty sure of it because a lot of their companies have project boxes where you make project bags in their project box. So
Tell them yes, we're going to stay in our home. And
yes,
the long arm will go in the kitchen.
The long arm is going to get rolled into the kitchen while we're working on the floors and while the people are here termite drilling. Yes, so we're staying in our house. We're not going anywhere during all that. All right, I'm going to cut this one up, and I think I'm going to get off of here because I'm kind of pooped from sitting in this chair and doing all this. All right, I'm just lining all this up. There's a seam in here because this was binding leftovers. But for now, I'm lining it up. And you know what? It's so frayed that I think this is just going to go in my string bin, honestly, because it's fraying really bad. And if I cut those frays off, I don't like it really frayed when I put my squares away.
There you go. Teresa says you use a clear shower curtain.
You can buy a clear shower curtain, yes, at the dollar store. So it'll be like $1.25 or whatever your dollar store is. I think ours is like $1.23 and the other one's $1.29. They're weird prices now. But they're whatever. You can find them from a shower curtain. Actually, I made my first free motion. Like, I had a big desk, and I had an old Brother PRS 1000 or something like that, or 1100, and I stuck it in the desk, so it was set down in the desk. We cut out a hole, and my original thing to keep everything from falling into the cracks where the machine didn't fit when I got a new machine and it was a different size, I actually took an old clear shower curtain and cut out a little area so I could free motion quilt to keep the quilt from falling back in the hole that we cut in the desk. And I used it to keep all my pieces from falling, and it was just a clear shower curtain. So you can use it for good things, but I bought mine by the yard, so this is going to go on my strings, by the way. We're going to get the strings. Oh, this goes down in here. I'm going to get the strings bin and one more time. I'm going to put this in here, just like that. So those are my strings. Put away for now. And I'm going to come over here in front of the camera, just so that I can show you guys what it looks like. You can go to your local quilt shop and you can buy vinyl by the yard. This is like tablecloth vinyl. It's actually thicker, but you can use it for tablecloths. You can use it for boat covers. You can use it for bags, coverings, tents, shower curtains. You can make it everything. This is the heavy version right here. And it just comes, it's this long on a big, huge roll. And then they just unroll it and put it on here for me. And then I can just buy big chunks of it. And I try not to bend it because I don't want creases in this vinyl. So as I've been cutting from it, as you can tell, I try not to bend it. I just roll it back up and I try to keep it nice and straight. But this is how vinyl comes, the clear vinyl, if you buy it from a bolt, you know, or a roll up thing. Yeah, but a shower curtain would work. Just make sure you get a thicker shower curtain and not a really, really thin one, because the thin one can be torn, I guess, if you put too much stuff in it.
What's your next project?
My next project is, I have no next project. The floors.
We're going to hopefully start tomorrow.
Yeah, we're hopefully starting tomorrow on the floors.
Project?
So we have to rip up the old floor to get the new floor, but we're going to buy the new floor tomorrow. We're not going to have it installed for us. We actually chose to do it ourselves. We have friends and stuff that know how to do it. We've made, you know, Scott knows a friend from playing basketball with him, and he knew how to do the flooring, so he's going to come over and help us. And so we're doing that part ourselves. The carpet for the...
Since they keep asking, here he is, although he's not happy. He was in his cave. He was sleeping. He said, you guys, I'm not happy. I'm mad at Daddy. I didn't want to come out.
He has been licking... I don't know if any of you have cats.
His cave. Look at him. He's trying to hug on me.
Yeah, if you guys...
I was in my cave and you woke me.
Have cats that are obsessive compulsive lickers. He is an over grooming cat. He likes to over groom himself. He's getting to the point now where he doesn't even know he's licking himself. He's actually eating the sheets and blankets. So all the quilts that we have out in the living room and the sheets that cover the couch to keep cat hair off of the actual furniture, we just let him get his hair on sheets. He's eating at it. He thinks he's licking himself, but he's actually licking and biting at the sheets and just grabbing at it.
He's getting old.
So he's getting so old that he doesn't know he's not licking himself. So now I'm like weary about having quilts over things. So we just keep the sheets on all the furniture now, because yeah, I don't want him eating at he does it in my bed. If he lays on my bed, he licks my blanket. I don't have a quilt on my bed right now because of him doing that. It's getting kind of bad at times. So
will Skulliver be posted on Wednesday as usual?
Yep, Skulliver will still be on Wednesday. It's pre-recorded, guys. I was able to pre-record Skulliver videos to the point where you see it's at now. So just know that that's already... I pre-recorded a few things so that way I didn't have to do anything this month, because I thought we would have already done this by now, but unfortunately, you know, we do live paycheck to paycheck like anybody else, so we can't just throw brand new flooring in. But like I was saying, we're doing out there first, the hard floors, and then we're having a carpet company, because we can't do the carpets ourselves. We're going to have a carpet company come, but we still have to rip it up for the termite people. So while it's all ripped up, I will get the painting done in here and in the living room, and hopefully it won't take very long. Well, Scott, I do the lower parts, and then along the top of the ceiling on a ladder, I just do along the top, and then he does the rest of the wall. And then I do along the baseboard, which we are ripping up. We have to rip up all the baseboards out there in the living room and the dining room, because that wasn't put down correctly. So we're ripping it all up. It's ruined because of the termites. So now he's in here, sitting in here. He's like, you guys were talking about me. I came back.
Yeah.
He's such a weird cat.
Floor, though. He's not happy about that.
He's not happy the 2.5-inch bin is on the floor. He's just sitting there staring. Such a weird cat. Anyway, all right. This is going to be a while of me doing this. I probably won't get it all done. And these tubs, I'm just going to probably try to squeeze it all in to one tub maybe. That way, you know, I can use the other bins to move things in here that aren't in tubs. Because, yeah, there's a lot in here to move. I did move all the fabric out that's already in the other room, but guess what? I got to move it all again. And I've been in that room lately getting anything that's less than 5 yards off of one of the big store size bolts and bolting it up on my magazine board. So I've been hustling butt to downsize the amount of actual bolted fabric I have. And now that it's cleaned up, mostly cleaned up, I have tons of bolts, but we have to get rid of all the cardboard because the less things that we have on the floor that are cardboard and stuff, like bolts, the less chances of having termites again. So I'm trying to do everything I can to switch my stuff up as well.
He wants to go on again.
Oh, you want to be on camera? There you go. Here you go.
Look at him. He's yawning.
You want to be on camera? You want to play with rulers? You want to be the ruler cat?
Look at that boy.
Anyways, all right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get off of here, and I'm going to work on my stuff when I can. Debbie, if you ever figured out how to message me, like I said, try Instagram, Facebook Messenger. You got to log in or email me. Then we can get together if you want. And other than that, I'm going to get going, guys. Thank you all for hanging out. Hopefully you guys got some stuff done or decided you want to go through your scraps as well and clean it all up. And yeah, it's going to be a while before I get this stuff up. But I did get 1-inch squares, 1.5, 2.5, some 5s, and two 4.5 pieces, and a 1.5-inch strip, and a 2.5-inch strip. So I did get some done, and some strings.
They say he looks like a raccoon. Oh, are you a raccoon?
Yeah. Are you a raccoon? No? Say meow. 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 Tell everyone bye. Scotty, turn the camera off. Bye. Say bye, everybody. Say bye, everybody. All right. See you guys next Sunday. And Wednesday, don't forget Skullover. Bye.